Says it's live on YouTube. Let's just get over here to YouTube and see, shall we? Morning, everyone. Well, I have 4 minutes before it's no longer morning. Today is Monday, May the 26th, 2025. It is also Memorial Day. So happy Memorial Day. And as I was contemplating doing a live this morning, so much started coming in, synchronicity wise. I've been recording all morning, and you'll be seeing those recordings come out as the day goes on. Mostly the writings of Jason Gray, but also some astrology. And I got to thinking, there's a lot in the field right now about memory, remembering. Today is Memorial Day. It is about remembering. Now, it was created apparently for remembering the fallen from different wars and whatnot. My father served in Vietnam. He did not, however, fall in Vietnam. He is no longer on this planet, of course, but he did serve in the Air Force. But there's something more synchronistic this time around for me because of, like I said, what all's in the field about remembering. And what I've been doing the last 8 years, getting to the truth of who I am, who we collectively are. And Jason speaks a lot about, in his writings, about remembering the flame that we are, remembering before the labels, before we were told who society, the parents, and everybody else said we are, right? So there's a lot of synchronicity involved in that for me this year. As I feel like there's, I feel like a completely different person, a different being altogether, to be honest. So just some random thoughts that have come in regards to all that. Right now, there are two beings whose work seems to be affecting me quite a bit. That is B at Quantum Tumblr, along with also Jason Gray. And I really feel as though an awful lot of folks are bringing remembrances to the surface, and a lot of folks, for whatever the reason, feel that oh my gosh, you just saw me shuffling this deck, all these cards in this deck. We had this card just the other day. It's the Quest card number 2. This came out, I want to say it came out on May the 5th when Lisa had her endoscopy, which started her last most recent hospitalization because there was so many twos involved in that reading. That was the reading that got interrupted here. And I came back to it 2 days later. So that's really interesting. Plus, I'm describing to you about remembering who and what we are and what my quest has been for the last 8 years. And here comes the quest. And it says, plunge boldly into life. Wow. Oh my goodness. That's the really cool thing for me is the more I simply allow and follow what I feel nudged to do, follow, look at, watch, um, the more I'm shown, the more the field speaks to me, the universe, source, whatever anybody wants to call it. We all have different words for it. Most often, folks like to use the term God. Um, that's such a charged word, however, because of how it's been. I just did a recording from Jason in regards to the false shepherds and what has happened with all of that. And so that is, um, wow, it's just right there, right? And as I'm saying that, surrender to setting limits. It is healthy to set boundaries in relationships. Practice expressing your needs and remember that no is a complete sentence. This is something that um, I actually, in visiting with my son on Saturday, we talked about realizing how, and we all do this, I think, to some degree, and at some point see ourselves doing it, coming to the realization that you might have made another person's problem or issue your own in the name of helping them, right? And how now you've assumed a lot of responsibility that wasn't yours, right? I I know exactly where he got that from. That was something that I did quite a bit, so I am quite aware of where he learned that little trait. And so that's the other most beautiful part of all of this for me is really realizing that and it's okay because it all serves. There are no mistakes. I've come to feel we don't make mistakes, even if we might have to label it that in the heat of the moment. It all serves in some capacity. It serves. You don't want to make a mistake. You end up feeling as though you've put yourself through some needless suffering for that decision, whatever it was. However, again, it all served, right? There's something that was gained, something that I required showing myself in some way or shape or form. Otherwise, it would never have happened. I wouldn't have allowed that. Um, and I see that now so very clearly. And each will come to that for themselves in their own timing, as have I. Oh, never had this card. Butterfly. Keyword, the soul. That's a beautiful card. So this feels like a multi-dimensional type day for me. A very multi-dimensional Memorial Day. There's lots to remember. Not just my father. And my great grandmother also served. She was one of the first female WACs in the Army, Women's Army Corps. Became an MP during World War II. Lied, actually, to the Army and said she was younger than she was in order for them to take her, which I find that highly amusing. My grandmother had a thing about age. She didn't like being judged for her age, and she lied about it quite regularly. She sure did. Water, lake, earth. Oh my. Boy, this card speaks to sovereignty and freedom for me. Speaking of those who serve, that eagle there, right? Her husband also hurt my grandfather. I never met my my mother's father's father. Uh, by that time, my great grandmother had already divorced him and was married to Leo, my great grandfather, the only great grandfather I ever knew. He too served in the Air Force during World War II. So I come from an entire family, really, of those who served. Ooh, Fire and Ice came out for the Journey of Love. This, for me, is very much an Azoth energy. This is, for me, speaks to alchemy, speaks to what I will call triality, if you will. Moving from an either or, truth or false, light or dark, to the and, if you will, for me. Not sure why it speaks to that, but it does. Okay, so we've got quite the reading here. Let's see who wants to go first. I think the quest, man, the fact that that card came out again as I was speaking to what I think I'm doing and have been doing here for the last 8 years, getting to the truth. Oh, good morning, Vanessa. I'm so glad you could join. It's been a while since I've been here too, so live at least. I mean, I've always been here. But as far as you know, I don't exist whenever I'm not here on camera. So you know what I mean? But okay, so this card came out. I know for a fact it came out on May the 5th during that reading that I stopped in the middle of and came back to so that we could get Lisa. And how, looking back on that, I'm hoping that today will be the day that Lisa and I are able to do a recording, maybe even go live. I'm not sure. I haven't spoken to her yet today to see how she's feeling. But as of yesterday, the plan was for us to have a conversation about what has been happening for her so that you all could hear, because some of what has gone on has just been so amazing for all of us here, to be honest with you. What has been happening with her for her and for all of us, really. And this card came out on May the 5th, which she had messaged me. I was live. She wasn't aware of it, but she had asked if there was any way we could leave in 15 minutes to get to her endoscopy a couple of hours earlier than was planned because they'd had a cancellation. Well, now, as you'll learn if you join us or listen to the conversation, I'm not sure if it'll be live or not, but it was rather important that we did go early because, as it turned out, she was bleeding internally and had to be taken to the emergency room and go through a blood transfusion. So this card came out then. The fact that she's agreed, see, I'm just now realizing this too. The fact that she's agreed to have that conversation with me today, should she still feel up to it, that it come out again is very interesting. The key word here, plunge boldly into life. So the quest. There is a quote here, plunge boldly into the thick of life and seize it where you will. It is always interesting. And that quote is from Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. The message of this card, your perception is most accurate when it's inside out. You've crossed the threshold from the ordinary world into the special world. And I do feel that is true for me in many, many ways. It is here the rules of ego and polite society no longer apply. Very true. In the ordinary world, it was acceptable to run from the things that scared you. In the special world, you walk toward those things with open arms. In the ordinary world, it was acceptable to associate falling with failing. In the special world, it is an invitation to explore your depth. In the ordinary world, it was customary to pretend you don't have a shadow. In the special world, your shadow is where your greatest gifts arise. In the special world, that is where your greatest gifts arise. In the ordinary world, when something was bizarre, you disregarded it as irrelevant. In the special world, strangeness is an indicator of value and importance. That's very true. In the ordinary world, it was acceptable to blame other people for your difficulties. In the special world, you take full responsibility for your experience. And trust me when I say this, everybody can continue to blame others for their problems or their issues if they want to, but that is no longer supported on this planet in any way, shape, or form. And I'm witnessing that those who continue to try to do that are having a very hard way to go. And everybody gets to choose how they wish to move through life. And so, but for me, that's a very real thing. There's also a dream symbol associated with this card of falling. Dreams of falling are a message to drop into your depth and flip your perspective of what it means to be grounded. Falling can also signify you have tripped up because your feet weren't firmly planted on the earth. You may be amid a growth spurt, experiencing change and thus feeling in over your head, or maybe even head over heels in love. Imagine there are falling angels helping you learn how to fall gracefully into your deeper, more soulful nature. The mantra associated with this card is I become more lucid when I choose to see the world from an inside out perspective. Not only more lucid, but for me, ever since I've started to do that, it has become, I've become more intuitive. I can see, sense, and feel so much more. And so much more of me has come front and center. I've heard others describe it as the peace that passes all understanding. There's a lot of that for me. Okay, so we already spoke about the surrender card, surrender to setting limits. It is healthy to set boundaries in relationships. Practice expressing your needs and remember that no is a complete sentence. And I have to say, this is kind of synchronistic too, because as I said earlier, I got to visit with my son over the weekend, and he was sharing with me something that he'd realized about himself, that he had a habit of making someone else's problem or issue his problem or issue. I know exactly where he learned that. I put that programmed conditioning in place for him by example. And so, but the fact that he is seeing it for himself, that he is waking up to that, because that is what setting limits actually will help him, as well as it certainly helped me realize for myself that no is a complete sentence and you have a right to it. Absolutely have a right to all of your choices, and no is a complete sentence. And then, if you have emotions that develop, like you feel guilty for not helping, because that's another programmed condition that we all get. But your family, I'm family. Why won't you help me? That kind of thing. Well, that's something for each to look at for themselves as well. Trust me, ask me again how I know that statement. And it really sort of leads to this next card here. Let your emotions flow. This one's from the Messenger Oracle. And it's let your emotions flow. Oh, this is quite a beautiful card here. A lot of Empress energy in this card for me. A lot of green, which is heart energy. Emotions flow like water. They can be joyous, like a babbling brook, as deep and strong as a river. Give yourself permission to feel and experience them without judgment or blame. Do not try to deny them, for that can only lead to harm and dis-ease. And let me tell you, I also resemble that remark. Do not damn them within you. Release them, let them flow and go. Allow yourself to feel them and learn from them as you embrace them for what they are. Natural response to the moment that you exist in that will pass as the moment passes. And that's so true. I now see that we are here as expressions of divinity. And we've been taught from the time we are little to suppress and oppress our own natural feelings and emotions, specifically those that are confusion or, you know, programmed responses to different things. That's how we all end up traumatized. And so for me, allowing these emotions to move through me without judgment, just observing myself, the thoughts that come up with them. Well, where did that come from? What's that tied to? How did that manifest itself? Oh, and just simply allowing them without having to fix anything, but just bearing witness to all of me has been the most cathartic thing. Vanessa said, I have to be careful to not take on everyone else's problems too. It's so natural to do that, I think, for many people that we care about. Yeah, well, it's also a taught behavior, or at least it was for me. I can only speak for myself, Vanessa, but especially when it comes to family. But that's your family. You have to take care. But see, there's a difference between allowing family to experience their own choices, because choices sometimes come with consequences, and consequences may not be comfortable. But if we don't allow family member in particular to experience the consequences of their choices, what are we doing? We're certainly not helping. In my view, I figured it out that I was not helping anybody. I was actually prolonging something that they needed to experience, and I was setting myself up for a horrific experience as well. And so by stepping back and realizing what's my lane and what's not my lane, and allowing others to experience the consequences of their choices, regardless of what that looks like. And yeah, it may be hard to stand by and watch that. And trust me, ask me how I know. And because there's also a whole lot of guilt and manipulation that might actually come along with that, or at least it did for me at first. But, what was I setting myself up for? Well, you don't get to be 490 pounds for no damn reason. There's a whole bunch of stuffing down feelings and emotions and trying to run around and control everybody else when apparently I didn't even have any control over my damn self. So, yeah, there's a lot there about that. The next card I think that wants to come out to be read is the Divine Animal Oracle Butterfly, the Soul, because those two cards I think are very closely linked. This is card number 28, the butterfly. And the butterfly for me has always spoken to transformation. It's one of the, because, the butterfly goes through a metamorphosis where it actually becomes soup before it emerges as the butterfly. The soul, to experience our full selves, we often go through a difficult period of transformation and growth. And see, by not allowing other family members to experience the consequences of their own choices, how I may have delayed their own experiencing of transformation and growth. It's a possibility that I had to look at for myself. Trust what you feel. We all have stages to pass through in life, and not all are easy. Look ahead to where you wish to be, not where you have been. Self trust and the trust of your partner are necessary for a positive relationship. The mythos. Butterflies feature in many cultures as part of their mythos and usually reflect the idea of change and transformation of the deepest part of us. Celtic, Native American, and Mayan cultures all have stories of the divine and butterflies. Probably the most well known mythos is the Greek story of the archetypal lovers Psyche and Eros. The word Psyche meaning both soul and butterfly in ancient Greek. Psyche was a mortal girl who was so beautiful that people came from all around to gaze and bask in her beauty. She was so appealing that people no longer went to the shrines of the goddess Aphrodite, instead forsaking her to look at Psyche. Aphrodite was angry and decided to punish Psyche and sent her son Eros, who shot arrows into people to make them fall in love, to shoot an arrow into Psyche and make her fall in love with the most vile creature on earth. However, when Eros saw Psyche, he was shocked by her beauty and accidentally pierced himself with his own magical arrow, thus falling in love with the mortal girl. He could not tell his mother because she hated Psyche so much, and he cast magic upon Psyche so that no mortal would marry her. Psyche's father was amazed that he had no offers for her hand, even though she was the most admired girl in the kingdom. He went to the oracle at Delphi and asked Apollo what to do. The oracle said that Psyche must marry the man she would meet on top of the nearby dark mountain. Psyche's father took her to the top of the crag and left her there, telling her that a husband would come for her. Psyche was terrified. She thought she had been left there to die alone and unwanted. Then a wind stirred her hair, and a melodious voice said to her, "Come with me, my love, and I will take you to our home. You will be happy always, but you may not see me." Psyche was swept away and soon found herself in a huge royal palace with beautiful food and her husband, whom she could not see but felt as pure love, and all this was hers forever. She made love to her husband, and she had never experienced such joyous ecstasy. She was happy, and she sent word to her father and sisters that she was married to a fine man. Her sisters soon came to visit, full of curiosity. When they saw the huge home and all the servants, they were jealous of their sister. They asked about the new husband and what he looked like, and Psyche innocently admitted she could not tell them. The sisters savagely told Psyche she must be married to an ugly monster, not a man, and laughed at her. Psyche defended her husband, but the idea of the monster was now planted in her mind. That night, after they had sweetly made love in the darkness, and she could hear her husband's rhythmic breaths of sleep, Psyche could not resist taking a candle and sneaking a look at her husband's form. There, by her side, was not a monster, but the exquisite form of the god of love himself, Eros. So delighted was she that she tipped a little of the hot wax upon his arm, and he woke. Bitterly disappointed that she had broken his trust, he left her. Psyche was devastated and could only turn to the goddess of love herself, Aphrodite, for help, not knowing that the goddess was so against her. She prayed to Aphrodite, and the goddess told her that only if she successfully completed 3 tasks to prove her love for her son would she convince him to take her back. The tasks were seemingly impossible, even confronting Death himself. But Psyche prevailed in all of them. This angered Aphrodite even more, and she became set on making Psyche her slave. Other gods saw this wrongdoing and intervened, alerting Eros to everything that his wife was enduring to win back his love. Eros flew back to Psyche, they were reunited, and each forgave the other, and they were happy in their realm together. The animal. Butterflies are an ancient species of insect with fossil records dating back in excess of 56 million years. They are found everywhere but Antarctica and come in a huge variety of sizes, colors, and shapes. Although the 4 wings are typical, many butterflies are migratory, and it is now understood that they use a navigatory system based on polarized light from the sun. This means that even in cloudy conditions, they can know where they are. They are extremely important as pollinators and are also known for their beauty. Of particular note are the butterflies with iridescent wings for camouflage and almost neon-like colors, which are known the world over. These include the stunning blue giant blue morpho and the pearl morpho, which shimmers in rainbow colors. Butterflies have a varied stage of transformation into their end adult stage, which is why they are so symbolic of transformation. Larvae grow from eggs and are often referred to as caterpillars. This larval stage can be very short or lengthy depending on the species. The larva cocoon inside a chrysalis to undergo a huge metamorphosis in form that involves physical structures being built and broken down. When the new butterfly is ready, it breaks free of the cocoon, dries its wings, and flies away, a small but profound miracle that we can all witness. And I'm give to understand, because I keep hearing this word, during that transformational stage, they break down into a soup called imaginal cells. Can you imagine that? Imaginal cells. I don't know, there's just something very interesting about that whole thing with the butterfly. And I feel that we do very similar thing. We come in here, we really don't know the truth of who we are. And if we're fortunate enough to really begin to ask questions, because nothing is what we've been taught here, not one thing. And then we sort of go into our own sort of cocoon of imaginal cells. And I feel specifically this time on Earth is a very much more pronounced time this time around. I don't know why that is, but it just feels that way to me. Not that I remember my other times, but I know I've been here before. So the magic. Butterfly magic is key to growth and transformation of the soul. Going through trauma or difficulty helps reveal our true self and to grow into the full magnificence of the soul itself. Ease doesn't always mean growth. I would say it very rarely means growth. Ease doesn't actually, if you're having a grand old time, where's the impetus to actually do something, to change at all, to grow? When you need help moving from one life stage to another, then butterfly magic can be useful. That's the other thing. And this is back to that setting limits, right? If someone comes upon a chrysalis and they see the butterfly struggling and they cut the chrysalis open, the butterfly will actually die, because it is the struggle of getting itself out of its chrysalis that strengthens its wings. So we have to allow our loved ones to go through their suffering, if that's what we have to call it, because they're choosing these things, and we have to allow them to choose those things. And then we have to allow them to learn from those things, or we cut them off at the knees. And I didn't see that until it was, way too late in some cases for myself. So when you need help moving from one life stage to another, then butterfly magic can be useful, although patience is often needed to embody change fully. When you require a dose of beauty, hope, and lightness of spirit, and a reminder to live your life to the full, then butterfly energy can be just the thing. So there's symbology of a woman with butterfly wings, caterpillar to butterfly, and butterfly wings. The status of the butterfly ranges from of least concern to endangered. I know there are some species of butterflies that are endangered. Okay, it says preparing live stream. Did it cut off? That's very interesting. Vanessa said wonderful about the butterfly. I know, right? Oh, I did see it glitch on my phone, so that's interesting. Okay, I think the sage wants to come next. The fairy's oracle card, the sage, card number 19, wants to be read next. And sort of apropos for where this is going today, I feel. The key words for this card are wisdom, hidden knowledge, retreat, old age, and patience. The sage is also the shaman. Not all wise men are shaman, and not all shaman are wise men, but this one is both. Power informed by wisdom, and wisdom made manifest by power. This is also the face of Father Time. And that's very interesting, because I just recorded Astro Butterflies information about Saturn, and Saturn is also considered Father Time in many ways. So that's very interesting. This is also the face of Father Time, and we see the colors of the seasons surrounding him. Sometimes he is the old man of the mountain, the hermit who searches within for wisdom and understanding, and then is willing to share it with any true seeker who comes to him. His, quote, blind eye enables him to look into other worlds, other realms, and the wisdom buried deeply within each of us, where the singers dwell. He has reached a stage of life where he has let go of many of the activities of younger beings, retreated somewhat from the outer world of fairy, and has become more deeply immersed in the inner landscapes of knowledge, inner wisdom, contemplation, and spirit. That's true. That's what I have found for myself as well. Of course, being 63, that I would, right? On the exterior, he lives simply, almost austerely, but his inner world is filled to overflowing with richness. In order to pursue his studies more thoroughly, the sage has cultivated detachment. Some may see this as remoteness or coldness, but he is no less loving for that. The sage finds the interconnections between everything. He sees the connections, relationships, and consequences between seemingly separate ideas, beings, and things. I think that's one of the pluses, or not just a plus, but it's a blessing in many ways of being older, I feel, and being more observant, perhaps. Love and compassion are the inevitable consequences of seeing truly, and this leads the sage to share his learning with others. Like any other wise elder, he leads by gently teaching from his vast store of wisdom. When asked for his judgment about something, he is discriminating and generous hearted. He turns a blind eye to punishment, feeling that what is needed is mercy and a way of teaching those who err so they will not make the same mistakes again. I really like what my housemate Lisa Flamino Rush has to say about that. She speaks to the fact that a person's behavior is their punishment, because they will suffer, especially if allowed to experience the consequences of said behavior. That generally ends up being punishment enough. Maybe not how everyone would feel, but I can see her point very easily. The sage is constantly learning. While on the one hand, he values tradition and stability, he also understands and values the need for growth and change. He can't go for a walk or a flight around the neighborhood without discovering something new and trying to see how it fits into the whole. That's true. I find that for myself nowadays. It's like there's never a dull moment, man. There just really isn't. He is always expanding his understanding of reality and deepening his awareness. That's what I feel like as well. As we develop patience and compassion intertwined, we begin to manifest the wisdom of the sage. Here we see wisdom and deep inner understanding of the keys of wisdom. Deep inner understanding. One of the keys of wisdom is to organize, integrate, and simplify one's thoughts. Complexity often leads to confusion. Simplicity is to be valued. This card signifies mental discipline informed by balanced learning and compassion. Tradition is valued, but appropriate change is accepted. The sage knows when to let go and when to move on. He knows when to retreat and think things over. He compassionately and wisely shares his knowledge with others, teaching by example as well as by precept. The scales of justice are balanced in the sage's hands. This card in a reading also signifies the need for deep consideration and refined judgment applied with compassion and mercy. Well, I really feel as though, because there's a lot in the field right now about a new, right? There's new energy, and you'll hear it when if you take a listen to the work of Astro Butterfly that I'll be putting out later on today. I've already recorded it. I just have to upload it to the channels, and also the work of Jason Gray. I've got several of his recorded, and all I have to do is upload them. I already have the thumbnails ready for those as well. Because we really are entering an entirely new way of being, I feel. And that's evident in almost everybody's, it's like in the field. And everything that keeps coming across my my field speaks to that. So this is water, lake, earth. And this is from the Alchemy Elementals deck. Water, lake, earth. Human connection is healthy and inspiring and wonderful when it's coming from a healthy place. But a lot of the time, humans reach out to connect with one another, not because they have anything to give or are even in a place to connect with connect in an authentic way, but because they just don't want to be alone. That is very true. That's not healthy connection. That's codependent bullshit. It's fine if you want to reach out to a friend for a conversation or a picnic, but make sure you're not reaching out to avoid being with yourself. Genuine connection arises out of stillness. Anchor yourself in your own stillness and your own connection with nature before picking up the phone and inviting that friend to meet up for tea. Only when you've grounded yourself in your own foundation will you truly be available for authentic connection. I really do feel like that's true. Now, don't get me wrong, I've done that a lot in my life. I would rather be with someone who was not good for me than to be alone. That's how I ended up being in so many situations where I had not to have been. Now, again, it all served, but I really have to agree with that statement there. And I'm really glad that those days are over for me. I mean, because again, it all served, right? It's all about sovereignty now. That's why I love the fact that this even has the eagle depicted upon it, right? The eagle in flight. With, I think that's the Omega symbol, but I'm not quite sure, or the Alpha Omega. I'm not quite sure exactly what symbol that is. So the last card, and this one from the Journey of Love, fire and ice. You are learning to hold the tension of opposites, of those things that don't immediately seem to go together within your being. That's true. And it's less and less confusing, actually. So you are learning to hold the tension of opposites, of those things that don't immediately seem to go together within your being. without collapsing into confusion, judgment, or denial. There is passion and serenity, creation and destruction, new life and death emerging within you. Again, that word emerging is just all over the place for me. I've been seeing it and feeling it everywhere. It is emergent. And just like I feel like consciousness is actually emerging in a very real way. So there is passion and serenity, creation and destruction, new life and death emerging within you, within your relationships. Sometimes this is hard to handle. We want to make things simpler, to just let go of the conflict and complexity and choose one or the other. You are a grand enough soul to be able to withstand the rigors of depth. Boy, oh boy, this must be really important for somebody, because my nose is really itching right now. And that's usually a sign to pay very close attention to what is being said. I'm going to back that up just a little bit and read this again. We want to make things simpler, to just let go of conflict and complexity and choose one or the other. You are a grand enough soul to be able to withstand the rigors of depth, to go deep, to live fully, to let the divine have its way through you requires a willingness to stand at the center of the pair of opposites and eventually know that they are connected to each other, that they exist only in relationship to each other, to breathe and simply to be. If you are consciously feeling the conflict in your life, internally or externally, then you are being initiated through fire and ice. Stay present, be patient, and wait. There is nothing to fix here, just awareness to step into as divine creation continues to unfold through you. As you master this initiation, you will find a sweet nectar of bliss dripping within. This oracle brings you guidance that the conflict you feel within or externally is a sign of your spiritual growth. Soon you will grow larger than the conflict, but for now, you do not need to engage in it, simply to be present to it and allow it to work its way through you. In many ways, this is also tied, for some reason, I was just shown this card, let your emotions flow. So I'm not sure if this is for somebody who's here now or someone that will be coming here later. But I was just shown this card again in my mind's eye as I was reading this one. So I'm going to read that again. This oracle brings you guidance that the conflict you feel within or externally is a sign of your spiritual growth. Soon you will grow larger than the conflict. But for now, you do not need to engage in it, simply to be present to it and allow it to work its way through you until you are strong enough to have outgrown the conflict, giving rise to a clear direction. It may seem impossible, beloved, but it is not. You are a vast being. Give yourself a chance to realize this and have patience. All is becoming, including you, according to the perfection of divine design. This oracle brings you specific guidance on any relationship matter requiring a decision. Until you have simple clarity in your heart beyond the pushing away and pulling closer, then it is time to wait, for there is more yet to be revealed. Only when your heart speaks clearly, then you will do well to act as feels truthful for you. There is a beautiful silence now as I hold your hands and listen to your eyes across a span of moments called time. There are no words that say as much, nor walls that could confine the wings of our feelings or the rhythm of our eyes. Well, like I said, there's something about these two cards together being very important for someone. So there may be something that someone hasn't set limits in the past and now is feeling conflicted about it because this card is not just for me or for whoever's here. It's for the subject of whatever this is as well. Because they, you, me, going through suffering that is meaning something important. And so allowing all the emotions to flow, really examining them all the way through, feeling them all the way through, feels important to say because it is part of the quest and part of the becoming sovereign and developing the shaman skills, right, for self, which is the transformation of the soul. Oof. Wow. Vanessa said, so helpful. Thank you so much, Vanessa. It was for me too, by the way. That's why I love doing these, because I know it's not just for you. It's not just for me. It's, it can be for so many on so many different levels. Wow. Well, I hope that this was helpful, and I hope that you enjoyed, that you found something here. Please do tune in later on today. As soon as I stop this, I will be uploading this over to New Light Streaming Love because it's live on Sassy Seer Sheila right now, and it will be a replay if you're watching this on New Light Streaming Love. And there will be several recordings of Jason Gray's work coming out today, along with at least two. I have yet to record another one, but I saw it come in just moments before I started this about the new moon. But the other one is from Astro Butterfly about Saturn in Aries, which is huge, huge, huge. And you may want to take a listen to that as well, because it's all just energy, and it will affect each one of us in differing ways. So thank you so much for being here, Vanessa. I appreciate you so much. And until we meet again, I hope that you will move towards that which brings you joy in each moment that presents itself to you. It really is just a matter of your own perspective and your perception of your perspective. Until we meet again, be well, my friends.